Again, officials say at least 18 people have been killed in the region, and the attack comes on the eve of President Trump heading to Turkey for a huge meeting of NATO allies this week, taunting the NATO allies. Clearly, the White House says, though, Trump will meet with Ukrainian President Zelensky while he is there. CNN's Harry Enten is joining us now. All right, we see this attack. We should look at what's happening inside of Russia. How much is Putin being looked upon by his own people?
Yes.
Outside of the war, watching what's going on with that, and who are dissatisfied with the way things are going, especially when it comes to their personal economies.
Yeah, look, leaders at the end of the day have to respond to the people in their country. And right now, Vladimir Putin is feeling the heat because it's always about the economy, right? And what you're seeing here is, take a look. Okay, Russians who say their economy is getting worse or getting better. You know, you look back 2 years ago, look, the majority of Russians said their economy was getting better. That number has collapsed. Now we're just talking about 27%. Compare that to the percentage of Russians who say that their economy is getting worse. That was just a third 2 years ago. That is up significantly like a rocket to 60% now, nearly doubling in just the past 2 years. This war and, of course, all of the sanctions that go with it have had a tremendous impact on Russia's economy, and you can see it here. The people inside of Russia are not liking the way that the economy is going, and for the first time that we've really seen in recent memory, the pessimism is sky high.
This is a terrible number for any leader.
Correct.
Anywhere. That is an awful number. People clearly dissatisfied. I do want to ask you about what's happening inside of Ukraine, and knowing that President Trump is going to meet with NATO allies. He is on the way to Turkey to do that. How much sway does he have with the Ukrainian public?
Yeah, okay. So, you know, it takes two to tango, or three in this case, the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. And you can see the domestic picture here in Russia is not particularly good. Of course, what Trump is hoping is that, he can, put his finger on Volodymyr Zelensky and, pressure him. But there, the domestic picture is very different, because take a look here. Look at this number. Look at this number. Net approval of U.S. leadership among Ukrainians. Yeah, Sarah is whistling, because this has been a dramatic, a huge shift. When Joe Biden was president back in 2024, U.S. leadership was on the positive side of the ledger at plus 3 points. Look at how this number has absolutely fallen through the floor to now negative 72 points. That is a 75-point switcheroo in the wrong direction. So, look, Trump is going to try and pressure Zelensky to make a deal in the same way he'll try and pressure Putin to make a deal. But Zelensky be like, hey, I'm not going to feel any pressure from my folks if Trump is putting pressure on me, because my folks just don't trust U.S. leadership.
Right. And there's a reason for that. Some of the comments that Trump has made, some of the niceties with Russia, and yelling at the president while they're in war has been a real problem for the Ukrainian people. I do want to ask you about, this war has been going on now for more than 4 years. And a lot of people thought, even U.S. intelligence thought, that it was going to be Russia taking over within days. The Ukrainians have managed to fight and fight and fight in a way no one thought was possible, including Russia. So how do Americans feel about the war itself?
They do have no confidence in Donald Trump to handle this war. Take a look here. U.S. trust on Trump on the Russia-Ukraine war. Look at this number. Overall, it's fallen from 45% back when Trump was on the campaign trail to just 32% now. And look among Republicans. It was 81% 2 years ago. It is now just 60% now. Trump comes in to any negotiations in a weakened state, given the domestic feelings in Russia and Ukraine and the domestic feelings here in the United States as well.
Yeah, he said he could end it in a day.
Apparently not.
Clearly, that was not the case. I think a lot of people knew that, but now it is in a scenario where it is an ongoing thing that we don't see the end to yet. And the president's still at the helm saying he can do something about it. We will see what happens, Harry Enten. But you know what I know? 100% rating for you.
Thank you.
Thumbs up.